Hey, this is Rick from Hiking Emergency Beacon, and today I'm out testing the tracking on my Garmin inReach Mini 2. It's part of the playlist that I've created, the training playlist for this specifically. And this first test, of course, I'm out with my dog Ranger right there. He's my buddy, sometimes he comes with me. But this first test is just about tracking. But before we get into all this tracking testing, please like, subscribe, share, and turn on notifications so you'll be alerted as soon as I put out new videos. Now this first test, I just turned the device on and I started hiking, walking, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to see after about 15 minutes or so see if it lays down hidden tracks, and if I can then track back to the starting point without having navigated or started tracking, because the Mini 2 puts down hidden tracks. So we're going to get out here a little bit, see what happens, and we'll then go on to the second test. Okay, we haven't walked that far, about 5-7 minutes maybe, and now it's time to see how I can get back to safety on my Garmin inReach Mini 2. There will be screenshots up of all of this, because it's really hard actually to video or take photos of the device itself, and I've done it several times, but it is a lot better to get screenshots. It's a little cold out here this morning. It's about 28 or 30 degrees. All right, so you hit OK on the device, and I'm going to arrow down to pass start tracking to navigate. And I'm going to hit navigate, and it says waypoints, TracBack coordinates. So I want TracBack. I'll click on TracBack, it's loading the course. All right, so there's a course that comes up here, and then you click on OK again, and it said go. So if I were to start walking right now, then it would lead me back to the starting point. And I'm going to zoom out here real quick so you can see where I'm at. There's another track that's been laid down here, but sometimes you have to ignore a few of the tracks. I did my best to clear the tracks yesterday, and this has been a bit of an ongoing issue because I've been testing several devices out here. I've been testing the GPS 66i, the Mini 2, and now the GPS Map 67i. So it's a little hard to see because I got tracks sitting on top of each other here. But it is giving me the arrow back to the start, and I could easily find my way back. Now the other thing about this, and I'm going to now I'm going to back out of this here, and I'm going to hit OK to stop navigating. I always want to show you how this works on the device, but the other thing is, if you have your smartphone and it's connected, but it's synced, then you can go into the Explorer app and see where you're at here. I can zoom in on this map and I can change it to satellite imagery, and I can see exactly where I'm at, and it's really easy to track back or navigate on the device. Even if you're not even navigating, it's really easy to navigate here. So the second test is going to be about actually starting tracking and looking at what it does. I've set my tracking or log interval to 2 minutes. Most of the time you don't want to do that because most people are paying for tracking. I have the expedition plan where messaging and tracking is free or unlimited. It's not free, you pay monthly for it. But I do want to give you this little tip right here. If you're out on a long adventure and you want unlimited tracking and unlimited messaging, then you can, say if you're on a safety plan, you could switch to the expedition plan for 1 month. Get that unlimited tracking messaging so you're not charged more when you're out. Then after your adventure, whatever that might be, then you can switch back to the safety plan and save money. Just want to give you a heads up on that. The other thing you can do is actually suspend your account when you don't use it. So several ways to make these subscriptions a little more affordable so they don't cost you as much money. So what now I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my device again here. I'm going to hit OK. This time I'm going to go down to start tracking, and I've hit the start tracking. It's sending points. Well, it says sending points, what it says. So now that I've started tracking, I can just take off hiking. You'll see a lot more detailed trail. I'm not going that far on this test here. I'm going into the trees over here. It's a little windy today and cold. And a lot of times I go into the trees away from everybody so that I can video, and then the wind noise isn't as bad. And it's a little more comfortable when I'm actually videoing. And I have several videos to do today. But I do want to let you know you can always track on your smartphones. On the Explorer app, if you go to devices, then under inReach Mini 2, I've got several devices that show up here. It says SOS tracking and weather. And if I click on tracking, it would start the tracking right here. Just to give you a heads up on another way to do it. So let's go walk over to where I'm going to video, and I'll show you what it looks like when those tracks are laid down. Okay, I just did a really short hike here. It's not even a hike, it's a walk. But I want to look at my device first. I'm sorry, my Explorer app on my phone. And I want to look at the map and see, this here shows real quick where I've hiked to here. Okay, well, so it's great on this, when you look on your phone and it's synced, then the trail or the track behind me is in cyan and it shows exactly where I went. Now I may have said something incorrectly, and that is I set my log interval to 2 minutes for the tracking. But I think that actually what it does is it sends that track to the map share page. So somebody who's watching the map share page can see you more often. Say you're on a real short hike, they can see where you're at. But I would normally not ever use 2-minute tracking or logging. I would go 10 minutes, or if I'm on a long trip, I might go an hour, 2 hours. But on my device, you can set your log detail or your tracking detail to high detail. Before I get into that log detail, I want to turn this off really quick. So if I hit OK, so right now it's still sending points. So it says stop tracking. So I'm going to stop, and it says save discard, and I am going to discard. Because one thing you want to do if you use these very much, and it says activity discarded now, and it says OK to start tracking, but we don't want to start tracking again. We're done with this test. The thing that happens a lot of times when you test a lot or you use your device a lot, maybe even switch back and forth between devices, it'll get a little bit jumbled up in the brain sometimes inside the device. And so there's a tip here at the end I'll tell you about how to clear that out. But if you want to get more detail on your tracking, then if you go into the menu and you go down to settings, and then you go into tracking. Now right now it says send interval 2 minutes. Now again, send interval is when it sends that track to map share. And I'm going to actually change that right now. So it says off 2 minutes. I normally set it on 10 minutes. I think default comes on 10 minutes. And then I'm going to back out of that. So what I want to show you here is the activity recording. And if you click on activity recording, you get two options. You get standard and high detail. I have mine on high detail. If you were on a longer trip and you want to save battery, then you would go standard. But since I want more information out here when I'm testing, and I'm only out here for a short time today, I don't care about the battery life, and so I put mine on high detail. So I've turned off the tracking. There's no tracks on my phone anymore, and there's nothing tracking right now on the device. Before we wrap this up though, I want to give you some advice about if you get things going on with your whatever device you have, and maybe there's tracks that aren't clearing, and maybe it's one time I was navigating and it was jumping back and forth between a trail. It wasn't following the waypoints. And if you ever have things like that happen, first you can call Garmin, you can ask me a question, but the one thing I'm going to tell you to do if you can't clear the activities is I'm going to tell you here to go into the menu, and then you're going to go down to settings, and then under settings you're going to go down to system, and under system go all the way down to the bottom, like one of the last things here, and it says reset device. And then when you go into reset device, it gives you two options, and it says reset default settings, and then the other one says delete data and reset settings. So when I was having some trouble this week with testing multiple devices, and plus being out here and doing a lot of my tests here at the Dawson's Butte Open Space Trail, I actually went and reset. I didn't use reset default settings. I said delete data and reset settings. and it helped a lot. And in fact, I couldn't even message. It wasn't sending messages out. So when I did that, it cleared it, you know, the scrambled brains, whatever you want to call it, it cleared it. So I was able to then message. And then the tracking was improved too, because it got rid of some things. After I get done with this test, I'm probably going to go back and do the other one where I'm going to reset the settings, but choosing the first one, not the second one. So if you ever have trouble, you can go to reset, and that'll help clear up a lot of things. Well, I hope that's helped you some. The tracking's pretty simple. On the Mini 2, if you do not track, it puts hidden tracks down so you can get back to your starting point. But I always recommend, if you can, is to actually start tracking. You will get a much better track, a very well-defined track. And here's what I like, and I want to just throw this out real quick before we end. If you don't start tracking and you come to multiple trails, and out here there's one place where there's 4 trails that split, and you go beyond that, say it's dark or snowing or whatever it might be, and you're lost, and you come up to these 4 trails. If you're not tracking, it's going to put a point out there and it's just a straight line. Well, it doesn't tell you to go right, left, you know, whatever. It just has a straight line. So you might be going through a forest. So you have to use common sense. Hopefully, you know, you could, in memory, whatever, you can see, well, I think I went on this trail, not this other trail. But if you track, it'll tell you exactly. You'll come up to the trail, it'll show you, or maybe you're not even on a trail, you're just bushwhacking, you're out in the open. It will tell you exactly where you turned. So I always use tracking when I go out. It's a lot nicer. And again, if you don't want to spend the money just for that 1 month, go to the expedition mode, get that unlimited tracking so you don't have to worry about paying anymore, and you'll get all the detail you want. Thanks for joining me here again today on Hiking Emergency Beacon. Please leave comments below, advice, tips. Maybe you disagree. Maybe there's something I said that's incorrect. You know, as long as everybody's respectful, man, just leave comments because it helps me and it helps other people as we all learn here together. Again, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you back out here on the next video.